Meeting to order, and I'd ask Mr. Whitehurst to lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Everybody bow their head. Dear Lord, just thank you for allowing us to come together today, Lord. Help us make decisions that honor you, Lord, and benefit our students and our faculty and staff, Lord. And Lord, as it's storming, Lord, we know that many people have the storm of life that they're going through. Lord, help lift them up. Listen to the spoken and unspoken prayers, Lord. Just thank you for all you do, and Lord, bless this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Address the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good morning, everybody. Ain't it a good day to be here? We're going to call on Miss Young and Miss Clark, first of all. Clark, I ain't seen you forever. How you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
I'm back.
All right.
So every year, we will rewrite the mental health plan, and this is what we would like to get approval and submission for our plan for this year. We've been working on it. Under Marcy's guidance, I'm learning the mental health piece of the new job, so I have put on a PowerPoint a few slides of just the highlights of the changes and what we'll continue to do and work on under mental health. We have some exciting things. So for staff, we used to have contracted mental health counselors that came into our schools, and this year we were able to direct hire a mental health coordinator, a school psychologist. Part of our behavior person will be 50% paid out of this fund, and then a school counselor. So that does not cover our school counselors that are in the school, it's an additional school counselor. So that will hopefully save us some money and be better for our students, because these people will be embedded in our community and our employees versus coming in from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our curriculum, as you know, it's required regulation for us to have required instruction for the high schoolers, so many hours a year. So we will continue to receive that through our base curriculum. And this year we're trying to add insights and zones of regulation. That's in our new plan. What that's going to do is give that universal screening for all ages, pre-K through 12th grade, and then the lessons that may go with us, so we can find those at-risk students and the ones who are needing the mental health counseling. And then for professional learning, of course, we have the youth mental health first aid. It will cover that training if we need to pay a trainer, or substitutes, travel, stipends, and then materials for program implementation. So that's what the funds cover. This year, we want to improve our overall wellness and resiliency through required instruction and positive behavior strategies that we're using in the classroom, and then streamline the referral process when the child does need additional services and mental health counseling to increase efficiency and students that we serve. Focus on building resiliency through early learning, skill development, and intervention. And then quarterly treatment reviews to make sure our students are making progress, and if not, getting them referred then to outside services, wraparound care, CAT team, Meridian, outside, for them and the family. We want to make sure we're encompassing not just the student that we're serving, but offering services or referrals for services outside of our school too for others. So that is our plan in a nutshell. Any questions?
So the psychologist, right, is the coordinator. Okay, no? Laura's the coordinator.
Laura's our coordinator.
The psychologist is the, what
Our
was
school
the term?
psychologist is Dr. Pratt, and she has been working at Williston Middle High School and Williston Elementary School for 5 years-ish. I think she started before COVID. And she serves Williston Middle High, Williston Elementary, and what we'll be adding to that is an additional licensed mental health counselor We have a school counselor that is now going to be providing, or continue to provide counseling services, and we have one vacancy. And we're in the hiring process, hopefully, for a social worker to meet that. So we'll have 4 direct hire clinicians to be providing mental health services in the schools, as opposed to contracted services.
I like that aspect.
So
And we hope to have them community-based, so that then, you guys remember back, Gail Corner, social worker that retired, she was struggling, trying to be a social worker for all of the communities. We were able to kind of, we elected to use those funds to increase our mental health services so that we can embed folks in the community, and then they'll kind of serve as that bridge and liaison, kind of like a social worker with our family liaison, to make sure that our families are getting the support that they need as well. So we'll have someone housed in Bronson, we'll have someone housed in Chiefland, Dr. Pratt will continue to be housed in Williston, and then our person that we're working on hiring, we haven't decided yet, but most likely she'll be helping out at Joyce Bullock and Yankeetown, and we're deciding which one of our other folks is going to help out in Cedar Key, if it's going to be our Bronson person or our Chiefland person. We're just waiting to get them on board when school starts and all of that to determine what's more appropriate based on their schedules.
So there will be more counseling going on in our schools?
Yes.
Okay.
That is our goal and our hope, and our hope is to be able to, we had a lot of success at Bronson Middle High and Bronson Elementary last year with adding that person because they're there more often. One of the problems we were having with our contracted services is they were there like 1 day a week or 2 days a week. It's really hard to get in the flow of the school when you're only there that often, and the teachers don't know you. Building the relationships and the trust just wasn't there. But by having someone stationed there more often, it really improved the relationships at the school level and supported them.
So in the consent agenda, there's a position, a psychiatrist, is it?
That's contracted services for our evaluations.
It's
a psychologist.
For?
It's Mr. Jim Houston.
Right.
Who's been our school psychologist since, the early 2000s.
So that is the person who comes in and does the evaluation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So Dr. Pratt, that we have as a direct hire.
Right.
Exclusively does counseling services.
Okay, good.
And then we contract for the evaluation purposes,
Okay.
because that's more of like an in and out kind of job. They come, they sit, meet with the kid, do their testing, leave, and write a report.
Yeah, okay.
Makes sense.
I noticed in your goal, which I love seeing, stream the referral process. What are the goals there? What exactly? How are you going to stream?
So having Celeste in the school setting last year as a former school counselor really helped us to see some of the holes in our referral process to get from kids needing assistance to getting to her. Some of the kids that were being referred weren't the kids that she was being able to pick up in other ways as really being in need of support. So she worked closely with a school counselor there, or both of the schools, to kind of directly have those conversations and tackle it more in a face-to-face kind of environment. And we're going to be relying on Celeste to kind of duplicate what she did at Bronson Elementary and Bronson Middle High School at our other schools, as appropriate for their setting. You know, all the schools are a little bit different, but.
That's good, the support
And
is
using that
needed.
universal screener too.
Yes.
To
Right.
help guide
Right.
who needs the intensive.
We had some predictions that there are some kids that we're missing because they're more of internalizing kids, and the kids who are getting referred are always the ones whose behaviors we see, who may be disrespectful, refuse, use profanity, those kinds of things. They're getting referred at a really high rate, but those kids who may be more quiet, withdrawn, anxious, depressed, aren't getting referred as often. So we want to make sure we're capturing the gamut, and so the universal screener will be key in that.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have, just a quick question, do you have the universal screener in Spanish too? Do you do both?
Yes, the one that we're hoping to be able to utilize is Insights. We're excited about that because it's more competency-based for our little kids, kindergarten through 8th grade. So it's more like, shows a picture of a person and asks them like to match an emotion to what they see. So it's more skill-based, whereas our 9 through 12 is more like direct, like how often do you feel sad every week, or questions like that. And it is in English and Spanish, and it reads to them. It's done virtually, so it'll be providing all that kind of support.
That's great.
We
All right,
just don't have the counseling in Spanish.
Yeah.
looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all. Now, Mr. Lott,
Double duty.
get all you can.
Morning.
Get all you
I
can
know.
out of him.
Part-time, he's having to work double time.
Yes. Just want to bring forward some policies that have been proposed for adoption. These, just want to remind the board of the procedure that we go through. These policies come from NEFACT. They have a team that creates these policies based on changes in state statute. Almost all of these that we'll bring before you today are a result of changes in state statute. Some of these changes will then have to go, that are made by statute, then go before the state board, who then makes rules in regard to that. So there'll be another batch of these that will come later once the state board changes some of the rules that may impact our policies. But today, I bring for you these policies. What we do is, once they come in from NEFACT, I give them to different people within our organization that's their area of expertise. For example, the first one, 3.06, was sent to our Director of Safety, Mr. Gore, who looked it over, made sure everything was correct, and then we then resubmit that to the board. Ms. Wade had some of these, Ms. Lake had some of these, our Director of Transportation, Joe Wayne, had one of these. So they go out to various people within our organization, they look them over before they then come back to you. So I'm just going to go through and introduce these. Our process is that we introduce these, and then they are reviewed at our next meeting, and then the following meeting, we would probably, at that point, unless there are some significant changes, ask you to approve them. So we'll start with 3.06, which is a change in safe and secure schools. This came about because of a state statute change, 1006.07. There is some new language for gates and other access points that have changed and have been clarified. So I'm just going to go through them. There's about 12, 13 of these.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next policy is 3.30. That's a statute change 1003.457. And this deals with AED training requirements. And there's also something called PULSE. There's a PULSE requirement in there, which is something new. PULSE, I'm sure you have no idea what that stands for, but that is a plan for urgent life-saving emergency. So it could fall within the AED or something else.
Right.
And so that's a change in statutory language and therefore a change in our policy. The next one is 4.141, which is our wellness policy. As you probably know, there are certain policies that have to come before the board on a regular basis. Wellness policy is one that has to come before the board and for public input and allow that annually. This is an annual one. Corporal punishment is another one that comes before the board every 3 years. So we're not on that cycle for that one. But wellness policy is one that is coming before you for annual review as required by statute. There were no changes in this policy at the present. 5.03, student attendance and absences. This was amended due to a change in statute, a couple of statutes actually, 985.03 and also 1003.27. Those changes resulted in some new truancy requirements and procedures, and those are outlined in the policy. 5.13, zero tolerance for school-related crime. This was a change in statute 1006.07, 1006.08. One of the changes is that they removed the word serious in front of threat. And so now it says acts that pose a threat to school safety. Serious is sort of subjective, right? And so I was glad to see that they did change that to a threat instead of just, leaving it up to someone else to decide what's serious and what is not serious. The new language also allows the superintendent to extend an expulsion of a student outside the normal 2-year range if it's recommended by the threat assessment team that it's to the benefit of the school safety to do so. So a serious case where we're removing that student from, say, an expulsion, either maybe in focus or outside of focus, but basically allows the superintendent, in conjunction with the threat management team, to extend that expulsion period. 5.15, administration of medication. This was changes in statute 1002.20, and basically it changed some language. Basically, Narcan has now been changed within the policy, and I'm assuming statute, to emergency opioid antagonist, or an EOA. And so all that language that previously said Narcan had to be changed.
I guess I figured that was just because it's a brand, so they went to
Right.
more generic.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured.
5.011, foreign exchange students. This updated some federal language and information. The current policy that we had not been updated since 2002. And so we looked at this, and our recommendation is to completely remove the old language and the old policy and replace that with the new language. Basically start fresh. 6.032, appointment of employment requirements. Statutory changes to 1012.22, 1012.799. These are new requirements and guidelines for employees who are arrested for a felony or certain misdemeanors. It also outlines, what those misdemeanors might entail. Basically, these are red flags that would come up if someone was applying for employment. The statute that it points to will give you a long list of those. But for example, child abuse would be one. So if someone, it may be a misdemeanor child abuse, but it's still a red flag and something that we should consider for employment purposes. 6.04 star is a statutory change. This deals with certification of administrative, instructional, and non-degree vocational personnel. There were 3 statutes that changed: 1012.39, 1012.56, 1012.315. The certification procedures changed. There are new rules for non-degree vocational personnel. They went from 6 years of expertise in order to get that certification to 3 years, which that actually should be beneficial to us. It opens up a whole new range of people who could potentially be placed in those vocational positions. And so that's a welcome change by the new statute. It also gives some new certificate renewal procedures that we would have to adjust. 8.12 Florida Statute 218.755 changed, and there are new requirements in regard to construction change orders. I don't know that we'll be doing any new construction anytime soon, so probably won't come into play, but there are some changes there. And finally, 9.08, transported students and eligible riders. Florida Statute 810.097 regarding student transportation changed. The current policy that we had was last revised in 2003. And so this is another one of those policies that, because of the age, we felt like it was most beneficial just to eliminate the current policy entirely and adopt a completely new policy as given to us by NEFAC. So, that's all of them. Are there any questions?
That's it?
I have one question.
Yes.
Under the zero tolerance, where it was stated that if the superintendent decides to extend the expulsion, is that something that has to come before the board, or is that within that's taken care of?
I'd have to double check the statutory language, but I think that that's the superintendent's authority with the recommendation
Okay.
of the threat. So,
All right.
From what I read, the statute, it didn't mention any board action.
Okay.
The board has already expelled the student.
Right, that's why I was wondering if they got back in it.
And so,
Or not.
Because of school safety, it gives, the superintendent and the threat assessment team.
Right, the authority to do
We have
that.
a district threat
Right.
assessment team. I'm on that team. It's headed by Mr. Gore. But we meet monthly and as needed to address various threats within the district. So it would be the recommendation of that team first to the superintendent, and then the superintendent would extend the expulsion. It's the way I read it.
Okay.
Need a motion to advertise.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lott. Mrs. Lewis, come on down.
In her Williston red.
I celebrate with you.
That's right.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm very excited to share our end of the year data presentation that we give each year. We all know that just a few weeks ago, school grades were released, district and school grades, and so we are celebrating that our district is a B. Our post actually is 1 point difference because there's something called the elevator clause that the state says that once a school type, so you have elementary, middle, combined, combination schools and district, once a group reaches a certain point, 75% of them earn an A or B, then it will move up to the next 5 or 0 on the ranges. So this school year we've just ended, we were in 2 different school grading buckets. Next year we'll be in 3, and I'll explain that near the end. But we were celebrating because we're only 4 points from an A, but because of that elevator clause, it bumped combination and districts up to 65%. So now we're actually 5 points from an A, but we're going to get there. So, go to the next slide. This is the slide that shows you by school. So you'll see on the left, you have Bronson Middle High School. All of the schools are listed across, and then district is on the right in the colors. Along the left-hand side, those are all the school grade components that each school may or may not be judged on. The blacked out areas show you that those schools don't have those areas. And a couple like Whispering Winds has a couple of NAs because they did not have a cell size of 10 in order to qualify for that component this year, but normally they would have it. On the far right column, you're going to see the increase or decrease from last year comparing that component. And then across the bottom, the very bottom, you're going to see the change from for that particular school from last year to this year in their percent of points. Looking below the colors where you see total points there, every school grade component counts for 100. And so all of those numbers in colors add up to that's total points, and then it is divided by the number of components that the school has for their percent of total points. The color coding at the bottom right corner is marked for you, so obviously we don't want red or yellow. We only want green or above, and in fact we really just want purple. But Morgan, if you will skip to the next slide. This is going to be very small, but what I want to show you, because colors say a lot, If you look at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see a couple of reds, you'll see some yellow, you'll see green, then you've got some sprinkle of blue and purple. If you jump up to the next set, that's from, at the very bottom is 21-22, then you go up to 22-23. That year, there were no learning gains, so it's a smaller set, but you do see less yellow and less reds. Moving up to the last school year, 23-24, you see even less yellow, no reds, and more greens, blues, and purples. And then looking at 24-25, so at the very top, you'll see that we have even more greens, blues, and purples. So our work is making change. If you look at the colors, you can kind of see that just in an image. You go to the next one, Morgan.
What is white?
White is nothing. Go back,
Nothing.
Morgan, to the, sorry, back one. White is just, it's that total points, so it doesn't color code because it's not in the 0 to 100 range.
Just some of them are black, some
Or
are
it's
white.
white, yeah. Black means they didn't have, black actually, or white means they didn't have that school grade component that year. On the next slides, this one in particular is each elementary school over the last 4 years. So you can see, and this is their percent of total points. So on the left, 21-22, you can see where a school was, then 22-23, 23-24, 24-25. The two columns on the right, the first one is the change from last school year, so comparing 23 to 24. So what change did we make in a year? And then the far right column is what change did we make over 4 years. Blue is what you want. It's 10 or more. Green made it 0 to 10 points increase, and red is anything in the negative. Ignore it. I should have taken the coloring off the bottom chart because that is, it's the total points, so they're obviously all very large numbers. You can skip to the next one, Morgan. These are our secondary schools. So you'll see the change in 1 year, and then the change over 4 years. Go to the next one, Morgan. The next slides are going to show each component. So this one in particular is ELA proficiency. Elementary is on the left-hand side, secondary is on the right. You will notice Yankeetown and Cedar Key are on both sides, and that is a combination of all their grade levels. So, because you can't, with school grade, you can't pull out particular parts. So you'll see on the left, Cedar Key is the same thing as Cedar Key on the right. So that's K10, or sorry, 310 compared to elementary is just 3.5 on the left, and then 610 on the right for the secondary schools. Morgan, the next one. This is just, we know that the new component of third grade all by themselves now count as 100 points in the school grade. So this is where our third graders performed, level 3 and above. That has only counted the last 2 years, but we did pull in the 2 years previous to that so that we can watch, we can see how we've come over 4 years with them as well. All right, this one is ELA learning gains. At the top, it's all students. What percent of students made a learning gain? At the bottom, it's our lowest 25%, so lowest quartile. Notice 22, 23 is blank because we did not have learning gains that year. All right, next one. Now moving on to math. Next one. These are our math learning gains. If all students are at the top, elementary on the left, secondary on the right, and bottom 25% of students are at the bottom. Okay. I think I did a repeat. Next one. This is our science component. So at the top, you're looking at 5th grade science. alone. At the bottom, you'll see that's 8th grade science and biology. All right, next, social studies. The next one. Okay, writing is not captured in school grade yet, is what they say.
Yet.
They say it won't be in school grade next year, but we are already tracking and monitoring it. At the top, you'll see the grade level. So you've got 4th through 10th grade. It's not just a 4th grade assessment anymore. All 4th through 10th graders take the writing assessment. Along the left, you'll see it's broken down by the state average, district, and then each of our schools. Writing is scored out of 12 possible points, and so there's 2 different columns for each grade level. So if you look at 4th grade in that first set, the state has 74% of students made 6 out of the 12 points, where 24% made 7 out of the 12 points. So there's a huge gap between how kids are performing in 4th grade and all grades, as you can see, purples versus reds. Across the state. Next, going down the next row, you'll see our district, 66% of our 4th graders are at 6 out of 12, where 38% are 7 out of 12. We do, you've seen on a previous board meeting, we are re-implementing Core Connections, which is a writing program that our district used several years ago, and it's not an extra program or an extra curriculum. It's actually professional learning for teachers of how to use the reading program and their other content areas. It's strategies and structure to use with a platform that they already have. So we are hoping to see the 7+ percentages increase next year. Last year was our first year of having district-wide school data chat forums, and so we have we heard some really good feedback from teachers and from administrators. We have made some tweaks to them for this year based on teacher feedback. So actually, the one on the far left is what the K2 school data chat will look like for this year. It's going to have a focus on not only the students' FAST level, but also their iReady level, because we're learning that iReady, the expectations of iReady is a closer alignment to how kids perform in 3rd grade on FAST, as well as Stu Greenberg has worked with us over the last 2 years, and he's also going to be speaking to teachers on the Professional Learning Day. We're going to have a closer focus on percentiles this year in K2, because we need our kids meeting the 60th percentile by 2nd grade in order for that to transfer to them being ready to be a level 3 in 3rd grade. So those are some things, I know it's small, but that's some things that our K2 teachers will be talking about with parents and with the kids as they set goals for the year. You'll see the one in the middle and the one on the right look very similar. Really the difference is you've got 3rd through 5th in the middle, 6-10 is on the right. The only difference really is iReady is in the 3-5 part and iExcel is in 6-10. So our teachers will be using this, and I will say they receive this in view only. They can make a copy of it, they can spruce it up, add their school logos to it, but the whole goal is that all of our teachers know how to talk the language of learning gains for state assessments, and that the expectation of using iReady and iExcel. Next. So you probably saw this post yesterday. We're very excited. Last year we were 95% graduation rate, and we are again this year. And so we're number 5 in the state. That's very exciting, graduation rate. And then our last slide is just something that you saw a few weeks ago. And so that is Cedar Key is an A school, and Bronson Middle High, Chiefland Middle High, Joyce Bullock Williston Elementary, Williston Middle High, Whispering Winds, and Yankeetown are all B schools. And then we have Bronson L, Chiefland L, Nature Coast, who are all moving close to also being a B as well. So very exciting, and we are 5 points away, and we know we're going to get it.
That's right.
It will be a celebration when we get there.
Oh, yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
from here.
For confetti or something for that.
So I know, just like every year, it's a lot of numbers and a lot of things. Any questions you have, all of our school administrators, coaches, AVID coordinators all got together on June 5th. They completed a data reflection worksheet, so they talked about like looking at all of those over 4 years, what has happened at your schools, what's working, what's not working, like what have been your school improvement goals in the past, what do you need to tweak, what support do you need from us. So they did a lot of work digging in to what, for a school where something's going, everything looks good because you're an A, what can you pick out that can like push you even higher? And then for our schools that might be on the more struggling end, what do they need? What do they need from us? So it was a really good day. We followed up with going to AVID, learning some new strategies. On June 26th, we all came back together and they worked again on like putting it all kind of into play. Each school will have a portfolio this year, so it's a slide deck like this, and it has a lot of the same slides in it where they're looking at their scores over 4 years. They're going to be using that during their SAC presentations this year. They'll have a goal for each school grade component, so we have some cool things in place, not just things to talk about, but like what are we going to do? And then we're going to follow up with schools throughout the year, like are they happening? Do you need help to make them happen? Is it something that isn't needed anymore? So we're going to be following up on things like that.
Is there very much collaboration between them other than during the summer? Like during that workshop? I mean, are you just kind of the vessel that kind of goes around?
Every month when they come together here, most every month we have some sort of data activity where they're working on something, and we generally have them either, depending on what we're doing that day, we'll have them in like Bronson Middle High will be together if we need to do something K-12, or we might have elementary together, secondary together, so they can collaborate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have a lot of new people in different positions. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year because I know everyone's super excited with their new jobs, and it'll be interesting to see the data next year.
Yeah.
Well, we had a surprise too. So we knew Wilson Elementary was right on the line of hoping that they might make it from the C to a B. And so it was very exciting whenever their grade came out that they did achieve a B. And then Wilson Middle High also moved from a C to a B this year. So super exciting.
Yeah, very good.
Yes. And
Well, to be commended.
Cedar Key keeps their title of School of Excellence as an A. So that's, I might have even lost count, 5 years that they've been a School of Excellence. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, very good.
It is exciting.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys have any questions anytime, just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Mrs. Lake.
This time I let all the good information and good news go first. And if you feel like we're gating there and we're hitting a brick wall on my side of the house.
Okay.
All right. So Ms. Jerry's going to come up here in a few minutes and talk to us a little bit about title, but we'll move through the proposed budget. So for anyone new to this process, this statute determines that we have to submit a proposed budget to the board by the 24th of the month. Your proposed budget is identical to your tentative. They are one and the same, so you guys that are here now, you'll hear this spiel twice, and those who are missing will get an opportunity to hear it for the first time on the 31st, where we adopt the tentative millage and budget. So my budget workshop was June 24th. So just remember that date as we start going through all the fun things that happened after June 24th in a span of about 4 days. So the first thing was June 26th. We found out that the final payment to all school districts statewide was about $47 million less than expected. We had a reduction of a little over $60,000, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was about 1 teaching unit for a year. And we found out that there are about 25,000 students that are being counted for both as scholarship recipients and who are also sitting in a public school somewhere. So those are those duplicates that we talk about, and the funding is not flowing to the district. The funding continues to flow to the scholarship. So DOE is working on that, which will lead me in a minute to why we still do not have our fourth calculation, which is problematic as we build this budget.
There is an educational stabilization fund that is used to fund districts. I'm going to make it real simple. When our FTE declines rapidly, it kind of comes in and helps soften that. That cannot be used to offset the reduction that we're looking at up there, because that's due to scholarships, not just due to decline in FTE. Districts were notified of that deficit late on June 26th. We didn't know that was coming, and DOE says they are working on a solution for the shortfall, but we do not know what that is at this time. So then, 4 days later, we have federal funding that was frozen or withheld. So just real quickly, statewide, that was about $400 million for the state of Florida. Quickly, there was a suspension of some Title II funds is what we thought at that time. And on July 1st, the adjustments to Title I came out, and it was a slight reduction there with no explanation on why. So I will let Ms. Jerry come up and talk just a little bit about what's going on in the federal world.
Morning.
Good morning.
Usually I'm the fun one because I have all the money, and it's looking a little different right now. I wanted to just, you can go ahead and flip it, Morgan, to the next one, please. You've heard it in the news, you've seen it, we've been back and forth, we've been living a roller coaster with the big titles, as I call them, the instructional titles. So I just kind of wanted to give you a where are we today, what exactly does it mean for us in a really quick snip. Title I, Part A, is going to be funded. It is not, there's been no indications that they're going to pull back, and I'll just pause and add, as well as IDEA. So from the beginning, we have felt fairly secure with Title I, Part A and IDEA funding. However, Title I came with a reduction to the state of Florida. That's nothing new in the Title I world. Our allocation fluctuates from year to year. Schools are prepared for that. They know that they've been operating off of a tentative budget. But it was a sad year to see Title I come in, because as you can imagine, in the absence of other federal funding, all heads are going to swivel to Title I and IDEA to hopefully cover some of the things that we're possibly going to lose to the other federal funding. So just to note that there is an impact to Title I. I'll be working directly with principals over the next few days to decide what can they trim back on in their Title I budget, what can they do to balance the books, and how can we move forward. It wasn't substantial. It's nothing more than they're used to dealing with on a normal year. Title II 25-26 allocation has been withheld. That is a funding, we've known it was on the chopping block of the current administration in DC. They do not like it. Just as a reminder, Title II is all about professional learning. So what are we operating on? We are operating on what was left over out of 24-25 funds. Thanks to ESSER, we had some substantial roll forward in each of these federals, and so because of that roll forward, the concerns that we're watching and that we're prioritizing are, we have reading coach salaries that come out of Title II, so we have prioritized keeping those salaries afloat one more year. We have lots of professional learning and stipends and things that teachers are accustomed to that are probably going to feel very, very, very different this year. Some of that has already begun in the summer as we began pulling back on July trainings and kind of looking at what are we so deep into we have to continue, and then what do we need to pull back on. That whole theory is going to continue as we are really carrying forward on Title II on this small little pot of leftover money. I can tell you that one thing that the superintendent has prioritized in Title II, just under those salaries, is that Core Connections writing training that Melissa alluded to a little bit earlier. That is fully funded out of Title II. It's a good cost. It's a substantial cost, but it is something that she feels is the top of the priority list. So professional learning stipends, those are going to feel and look a little different this year as we move forward. Title III, you know, that's for ESOL, language instruction for English learners, not funded. We are finishing up with some instructional programs that we had committed to on Title III, and that will wipe out the little bit of leftover money that we have to carry on for Title III. Title IV, withheld. know Title IV, you've seen me come before you for stakeholder meetings with Title IV. That's the fund grant. I often refer to it. It's where we do lots of STEAM materials in the classroom. That includes the fine arts, music department. It's where we have the mentoring program. All of those have been withheld, and the leftover, the little bit of roll forward, is paying for, I think many of you are familiar with Gizmo, Reflex. We have some math and science instructional programs. We had already signed contracts on those. So those instructional programs have been protected with the roll forward. Most every other activity is on, as I like to call it, pause. We're just pausing. We've not given up yet, but we are pausing. So what's our concern? Lack of STEAM support in the classroom, the mentoring, and the supplemental math and science. And then Title V was great news. We at one point didn't think we were going to get this either. This is the rural and low income that not every district qualifies for, that Levy has always qualified for. We are kind of the definition of rural and low income. And so we did receive that allocation with a reduction. So that's just kind of where we are. Again, I spoke with Marcy this morning. IDEA came in just pretty much flatline funding. And then Title IX, which is McKinney-Vento for the homeless students, has been funded with a slight decrease as well. Any questions on those? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Julie.
Thank you.
So we'll continue to watch those federal grants and work together to either reallocate or if we have to or what we need to do. So we all know that we had an increased cost of FRS, so retirement, so that's went up. It sounds small, but it's about $150,000 to Levy, and on the heels of the deficit we have, it's rather large. And that impacts federal as well. And then, of course, we have increased operational costs. We're seeing this across the state. Health insurance premiums are going up. Utility rates are increasing, and those are straining district budgets as well. And then the growth in student scholarships. That is up about a little over 72,000 statewide. And so that costs about $650 million. And I think I said at the proposed budget that scholarships went up 3%, and I think districts' growth were under 2%. So that is the decrease in state funding. Several districts have it worse than us. We are experiencing a decline in our fund balance this year, and then moving into the budget that I have created. And we have several districts, due to the federal freeze, that are actually going under 3. So we are blessed, but this is a statewide issue, not just a Levy issue, and Levy is sitting just slightly better currently. And there is a lot of budget uncertainty. We don't have the fourth calculation, so we don't know the final decline to our funding for the 24-25 school year. We will see any further reduction that we have there. We will see that December of this year. So it'll come on the heels of this budget that's already reduced. So it's a different time. So let's talk a little bit about where we're at for 24-25, the school year we just exited. We are still closing out our books. We are still getting, very few revenues are coming in, if any more, but we still have expenditures, bills that are being paid out. Currently, we have a deficit of a little under $845,000. That deficit was reduced from $1.8 million through the use of transfers. Statutorily, we can move money from capital outlay to cover maintenance salaries and bus driver salaries, property and casualty insurance, and enterprise resource software, which is our Skyward. So we have moved for everything except bus drivers, and we are still at a little over $800,000 deficit. That deficit will reduce our fund balance. Some of that loss was not budgeted in the 24-25 school year. When I did this same process this time last year, we didn't know that there was going to be a proration. The proration is above a reduction in your FTE. It is where all school districts in the state of Florida share when the budget expenditures have exceeded the approved budget by the state. They have to come in and rebalance their budget, and they rebalance that through a prorated share of every school. And so ours was a little over 450,000. So this is looking at the second calculation that came out, and it's comparing it to the third calculation, not the fourth. It should be comparing it to the fourth. So it is slightly skewed. So you can see we are seeing a state decrease in funding of around $265,000. And then local, we have an increase of around $770,000 for a total increase of around $504,000. So some of the costs, though, that $504,000 needs to pay for in this next budget, we have to move out the teacher salary increase allocation that's built into that growth. That's a little over $190,000. So then we're left with new money of around $490,000. But we have an FRS increase of $150,000. We have health insurance. Right now, we don't know what that increase is going to be, but we're looking between $300 to $500. And that will have to come out of the general fund. And then some other costs between an increase in supplements, an increase for textbook adoption. It was an ELA adoption year. You're looking at starting with a deficit of around $334,000. And that's just comparing growth, so the change in 24-25 with any new money that might be coming in 25-26. But that is not the deficit to the budget. So let's look a little bit at the revenue sources that are in the current budget and some change there. So you can see a decline in federal. That decline is simply hurricanes. So our FEMA money will flow through there. It's not FEMA, it comes from the county, but it kind of flows through there. And some grants, some different things that flow through there. So it's really not a decline in any consistent funding that we get. State sources are down almost $1 million. Local sources are up, but again, there's grants in there. There is a CAP grant in there that's like $1.7 million. So it's skewing that change a little bit. Those interfund transfers are down. They are down because of ARP. ARP is gone, so all the CARE money is gone. CARES money is gone, and that last year included a final push for textbooks and employee bonuses to the tune of $1.6 million. So it's down because we're not going to recover that money. Those were non-recurring expenditures, but we're not going to recover that money again from ARP. And then other funding sources is just dependent upon how many insurance claims. That is literally, we've had a lot of lightning strikes last year. Again, we're starting off good this year. So that's just fluid and is based solely on insurance claims, so it has a matching expenditure. When we look at our revenue source types, 66% comes from the state and 30% comes from local. And the local has been slightly increasing since I've been here, maybe 1%, but it is still slightly increasing and state is decreasing. Take a quick look at the expenditures in this budget. So salaries are down $1 million. So that $1,800,000 of that were bonuses that were awarded in the compensation package this year, not the same bonuses that I just talked about a minute ago. Those were the ARP bonuses, but we also did a round for longevity. So those are non-recurring, so you do see a reduction there for that. Employee benefits are up. Purchase services are up slightly. Again, when there's a grant, like the CAP grant, it sits in all of these categories and it can be increasing some of that. So we go on to show, though, that we have reduced this budget by $1.3 million. Mostly those are non-recurring costs that have come out of that budget. There has not been a huge reduction in recurring costs. And that $300,000 at the bottom, that is the general fund, would have to do a permanent transfer to health insurance. So we're thinking between $300,000 and $500,000. And we will know that in February. And even if we don't have to do a permanent transfer in February, if we have to increase board contribution for premiums, that's where that will come from. So you can see the majority of our expenditures go for salaries and benefits. 78% of our budget is for salary and benefits, which makes it difficult when you try to reduce a budget, but not reduce it.
Yeah.
So this is our proposed operating budget. Again, this will be the tentative. We have worked on it, and we are still at a $1.8 million deficit. So that's the difference between budgeted revenues and budgeted expenditures. I have removed scholarships out. So when you see my budget summary ad, you're going to see that expenditures and revenues look more like 60 million. That's because each side has over 5 million in scholarships. So you have to budget the revenue and an offsetting expenditure. But in order to keep it from skewing my budget, I always remove it from both sides.
You just took the in and out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the sad part of that deficit, so remember earlier when I said this year we were at a $1.8 million deficit and we whittled it down to $800,000 through the use of transfers? That 1.8 includes $1 million in transfers. And you can only transfer so much money from capital. First of all, statutorily, you can only transfer so much money from capital. But also, that capital budget is used for all of our day-to-day maintenance, to purchase school buses, and other activities, so you can only cannibalize so much of that budget, or you are reducing what maintenance can do in the schools and our purchase of new school buses. So the capital budget is about $5 million moving into this year, and we still have one more payment for Chief Lemon High School, a little over $2 million that we have to support. So right now in the short term, what we're doing to balance the budget, if we don't balance the budget, we will of course have to utilize reserve funding, which you will see the impact in a minute to our reserve funding. We're going to review and increase capital transfers that are allowable by statute. We're going to use those as much as we can. And we have already had several budget meetings with several departments, or all departments, including the schools, to ask them to review all their costs and make cuts that have, this sounds silly, minimal impact on the classroom, because essentially everything we do impacts the classroom. And it's sad to see when Melissa reports the growth that we're getting, and now we're going to have to really pull the brakes on some of these things. So an example of the types of cuts that we've discussed is reducing staff travel, reducing student travel for activity that's not covered by their internal accounts. So you'd be looking at competitions and athletics. We haven't cut anything at this moment, but I do believe we are holding the schools to their limit of athletic games at this point. We are going to have to review any new athletics coming into our school, those types of programs that will drive costs. We're going to look at software programs and try to cut anything that's redundant. Believe it or not, we have a lot of copier agreements in this district, so we've already asked schools to look at those copier agreements. Do they need as many copiers? Can we reduce some of those agreements? Continue to focus on any energy saving that we can district-wide. Staff reduction through attrition. So to me, staff reduction through attrition is not the same as layoffs. That is when a vacancy occurs in a position that you may no longer need. You may be able to, technology may allow us not to refill that position. So every vacancy that occurs throughout the year, we're going to take a pause for just a second to look at that position to see if we need to fill it. Obviously, there's going to be classroom positions that have to be filled, so those will move a little bit quicker. But those are things that we're going to look at now. We're going to continue to review class size policies and procedures. Where this will have an impact will be when we do staffing allocations. I do not believe we have that luxury anymore of looking at the classrooms based on the 18, 22, and 25 that the state says we should have, because the state's not funding us to maintain those class sizes. We are looking at our summer programs and summer hours. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the little booklet that it went out this year, that we offer a lot of summer hours. We're going to have to look at pulling all of that back except for what is required by law, which is extended school year and third grade reading camp, and then some of those additional hours that go for grounds and custodial and FFA, those are either we're gonna have to find a different funding source or we're not gonna be able to support those summer hours. And we're looking at all discretionary budgets, including those that go to the schools. And this year I've asked them we haven't reduced their budget. It's reduced on its own because they have less students and it's based on the number of students. So there was already a reduction, but we've asked them to maintain their operations in just that discretionary budget and not use roll forward. If they use roll forward, that further reduces my fund balance. So we've asked for them to pay attention to those. All of the things I just named, and I'm sure Mr. Whitehurst knows, you don't get a lot of bang for your buck out of most of those things I just named. But we are trying to make smart reductions and least painful reductions in terms of impacting student achievement and current staff for now. And you won't get to layoffs, right? Layoffs will occur when we literally can't pay the bill.
That's right.
So layoffs aren't a great saver. They're a saver when you all will be fully aware when we get to layoffs. So we're just trying to do this smart. We're trying to do this with grace and compassion and as best we can. But this is the year, and I'm about to get to the fund balance to show you, if people do not take it seriously this year, we will be having a different discussion this time next year and the year after that. So let's look at the fund balance and where we are now. So 23-24 is there because that's where we ended moving into our previous school year. We started out with a $10 million fund balance. In that $10 million fund balance, almost $600,000 is restricted. So it doesn't count towards our financial condition ratio, and it's not funds that you can use for any other means than by which the state has determined. So of that $10 million, we had about 9.5 going into last school year that is assigned and unassigned. And we usually run about 2.5 million assigned. Assigned would be your schoolhouse roll forward. They would be certain activities that we have deemed as management that we were going to hold that money. Any excess of that funding will sit there and they can be used for that same activity year after year. And then, of course, the unrestricted has your assigned, your 5% financial condition ratio that is determined by the board. And that's roughly, it changes every year because it's based on revenues, but it's around 2.7 million. So when we're ending the year that we just left, we're going to end that year, and again, we're going to reduce that fund balance somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000. So we're going to move into next year with a fund balance of 9.2 million, which includes some restricted. So we have about 8.6 of assigned and unassigned available to us. So that 1.8 million that I'm talking about, if everything holds true and that's where we end this time next year, that's where that 1.8 comes from. There are a lot of things happen between when we give you a proposed budget in July and when we close out a budget in the next July. A lot of things happen. But being a perfect world, it would reduce our fund balance down between, this year will end at 16%. If the 1.8 hits next year, we will end at almost 13%, which is still well above the 5 and the 3. But let's not look at the percent, let's look at the dollars, because those dollars get drained very quickly. That would leave us going into the 26-27 school year with about 6.8 million assigned and unassigned. So if you remove your 2 million or 2.5 million for assigned, what's left would have to have the 2.7 for the 5%, and so then we're left with about 1.5 million moving into the next year that's unassigned, which is still good. That still gives us 2 years in a perfect world to continue to make these cuts and hopefully find those. But I haven't mentioned at all compensation, negotiation. I haven't mentioned anything else that will put pressures on the budget. Another proration next December of $500,000. All of these things will change these projections. But it is so important, while we are still healthy, to make these decisions so that we're not left with very painful, hard decisions. I just can't urge that enough because I think people get desensitized sometimes to finance directors because we're constantly, usually we're very conservative and we're usually always saying there's a problem, but I am telling you there's a problem. There is a problem, and it's coming. Let's use this time to try to fend that off. So we are starting to have those meetings and starting to have those discussions. So let's move to capital. Capital, this is where your 1.5 mil flows through. We're looking at state revenue or local revenues of about 5 million. So given the transfers I have embedded in here, the payback for Chiefland Middle High School, we look to end our fund balance. We have a fund balance of about 6 million at the end of next year. Next, we have debt service. So debt service is where we have our racetrack, so the bonds we just renewed. Because we renewed those bonds, and we had to, so we didn't really have any other option, but interest rates are up, we have lost about $20,000 in revenue that would have normally sat in the general fund because interest took that. We really weren't left with much options for that, though. So we also have our COPS. The good news, if I can have one piece of good news, is COPS will be paid off in 25-26 school year, so you will have an additional close to $700,000 in your capital budget in 26-27. But on the flip side, we will then start sharing with the charters somewhere between $150,000 to $250,000. Just depends on their student population and dollar per head at that point. But still, our capital will get a little bit back. Food service, so our federal budgets, which food service is federal, these are just last year's. They take a little bit longer for me to get all that information, so your federals will be updated by your final budget. So nothing I'm going to show you now has been impacted by anything that Ms. Jerry spoke about, and food service is continuing with last year's budget. One quick thing about food service is food service pays indirect costs to the general fund, just like all federal budgets. Food service, when I first started, we didn't take any indirect costs. On average, the last 2 to 3 years, we've taken anywhere from $100,000 to, I think the largest was $188 last year. We took over $500,000 in indirect costs this year, and still have an $800,000 deficit. That's where I'm saying we are utilizing all of our tools, but we have to reduce costs. Again, this is just 24-25, and this will be updated by your final budget. And revenues and expenditures always match in federal programs. So your internal service, this is where we have our health insurance, and you can see the trouble on the horizon there. We are projecting expenditures of about 7.7 million, so ending our fund balance next June at about 1.7. But we will know what's going on with a self-insurance, so it runs calendar year. So right now we're looking at all the claims every month, and we're measuring that against what fund balance we need in December. We will need 2.5 times our claims, monthly claims, and they're a little increased this period because we had some increased costs. So that will be reviewed by our actuary in February, and then we'll know if we either need to do a permanent transfer, but we'll know before then through negotiations what we're going to be able to do in terms of increasing those premiums, board or employee or both. So this is a notice of proposed tax increase. We seem to be getting these every year because the value of homes keep increasing, but our funding is not increasing. So this is just standard language that I have to put out by trim. Next is our summary ad. So we are asking for approval, well, we will ask for approval of a budget of close to 117 million. With your general operating at close to 70. Again, that's increased a little bit because of those scholarships. It's an in and an out, but it still increases that total budget. And this is our notice of school capital outlay. We have to put this ad out with what we intend to purchase. We have 5 school buses on here. We do not intend to purchase those until we know exactly how we're going to have to utilize that capital budget for operating and the impact of paying back Chiefland Middle High School. We think that is a priority at this time, but you will see some new buses because we've had them on order for multiple years and they're slowly starting to come in. But if we have enough capital reserve, we will end up ordering some buses. Fortunately, for the bond refunding that you did is taking care of roofs, so that is taking a little bit of weight off of the capital budget. So the one thing I need today is just an approval of those ads, so I can get those ads approved and posted. They'll run in the Gainesville Sun. I don't have an option right now due to time to run them locally. Last year we also had to use Gainesville Sun. And those will run on the 29th, and we will have our tentative budget hearing on the 31st.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries.
And no one has any questions about budget?
Can I ask one question?
Lots.
Lots of
Lots
Lots of
So
questions.
So do I.
I'm just curious how, you aren't mentioning negotiations but have negotiations, or has this new proposed budget affected what's happening in negotiations?
I'm sure it will. We haven't met a second time. We have a very good relationship with the union. The union is fully aware of the financial difficulties statewide and with our district. This has come about, the 1.8 million deficit for 24-25 wasn't a surprise. At 1.8 it was a little bit of a surprise, but we knew we were reaching into the fund balance when you all approved last year's compensation. We had hoped it hadn't extended beyond the non-recurring. So we've gotten it down to about the non-recurring. What we didn't anticipate was what's going on federally, that while it is not impacting the general fund yet, it potentially will. And we also didn't anticipate Senate Bill 2500 was even less than what the House was originally proposing. So in years past, the base student allocation has risen at such a rate that it has helped recover some of those recurring costs that we agreed with that we didn't have funds for. So basically, you negotiated in 23-24 and borrowed against revenues you were going to get in 24-25. That has served us well over the last 3 to 4 years. It is not serving us well now. Now we can see that's not going to be the case. But we will continue. We meet with them again in August, and we will continue to kind of tell them where we're at and see and talk, and of course the board will know. But I feel like they do understand where we're at. We just may have different priorities, so we need to sit down together and understand each other and each other's priorities and direction.
Will we be proceeding with the proposed new stipends, or that we?
Those are supplements. Those have already been
Supplement.
approved. Those have already been approved. Supplements can be controlled in some form or fashion, and those are meetings that we're continuing to have, and how to now, do we reduce those budgets at
Right.
school level? No new sports would help. Like, what do we do? But those are bigger discussions that we are having because we pay a lot in supplements.
Yeah, right.
And how and where we can reduce them. Some of them we can't reduce. So at the same time, it's kind of funny, HR is benefiting from this kind of change that's going on around us. They're getting access to more highly educated teachers, to teachers with greater years of experience at a time that the budget can't handle that. So the budget's like, I want all your new teachers with nothing but a bachelor's. And of course, what's better for our students in HR, they want all the teachers that have 20 plus years with masters. So here's where the conflict
Yeah.
lies.
Right.
We also are this budget has benefited from lapse time. So teachers will leave and go, there's a fluidity. They could go anywhere they wanted. Now you're going to see lockdown and people not want to leave, and so we're not going to have that lapse time. So this fund balance is going to continue to decline based on those activities. So now it has shifted from a personnel issue to a finance issue. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of
Thank you.
your work.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
appreciate it.
Wait, we need a motion.
No, they didn't.
We did.
They did already.
Oh, you did, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I know it gets my brain too.
I'm just absorbed in all this money.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Lake. All right, do we have any public comments at this time? You here for that?
I'm here for the show, it's all good. It's all bad, it's all good. Good, bad.
There you go.
It's life.
There you
All
go.
right, we will move ahead. We move to our minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read over the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, we move on to our consent agenda. Mrs. Campbell, do you have any questions or concerns
No, I do
or
not.
comments? Mr. Whitehurst?
All my questions are answered.
Mrs. Clemency?
All mine were answered.
All mine have been answered and handled well. I would make one comment. I think to see if number 27 under employee status changes, Catherine Corbin, I know her as Katie, seeing her coming back in that new position, that is an excellent move by our school district as far as I'm concerned. And anybody that ever had to work with her or dealt with her would probably agree with that. If there are no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move into finance. Does anyone have any questions on the consent finance agenda? Mrs. Campbell, anything?
No question.
Mr. Whitehurst?
I'm good.
No question.
Mrs. Clemency, I don't either. It's all fairly self-explanatory. And I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move to our superintendent's comments. Mr. Lott, got any comments today?
I do. I have a few comments of my own before I read some that Superintendent Boyle had sent me. But as you know, yesterday afternoon about 4 o'clock, we had a lightning strike here at our district office. And when we left yesterday evening, we didn't even know if we would be able to have the meeting here this morning. But I do want to thank our maintenance department, Breezy and Mac, and that entire crew for, getting on that as fast as possible, making sure we had electricity, making sure that we there wasn't a danger to the facility. You don't want to leave and the place burned down, those kind of things. So they were really helpful. And our MIS department, in looking at potential damage, we're still assessing that. We'll know more. We do believe our phone system was damaged and probably beyond repair at this point, and we'll have to replace that. Our generator outside, which is supposed to kick on when you don't have electricity, well, the panel, it was damaged too, so we'll have to get that repaired. So we're assessing that damage, but I do want to thank all of them. And I also want to thank Central Florida Electric Co-op. Before I even left yesterday evening, there was a truck sitting waiting to make repairs as soon as it was safe to do so. And Danny George and Central Florida has always been a very good partner for us and really given us a priority when we're down in electricity at any of our schools. And I do want to thank them for that service. Also, I want to recognize our advanced placement teachers. You saw on the board agenda that we had given them a bonus. Any advanced placement student who passes the AP test with a 3 or higher, that teacher is rewarded. I've been calculating those totals for many years now. And I would say that this is, as far as passing percentage for our kids as a whole, as a district, this is the highest that we've ever had. I mean, we had some teachers that had 100% pass rate, and all of them did an excellent job in teaching those kids. As evidenced, overall our pass rate was higher than the state average, as a whole. So, good job to those teachers, and I do want to recognize their hard work. Superintendent Boyle sent me some things to talk about. She said that she neglected to mention that Riley Locke has been awarded the District 2 State Vice President FFA Officer, and she knows she'll represent Levy County in an excellent manner. And she wanted to shout out to our district staff for hosting another Elevate New Teachers event at Chiefland Middle High School. They had 2 days. It was amazing. A lot of hard work went into that, creating those presentations and welcoming the new teachers and some veteran teachers who have found their way back to Levy County. So all indications that went very well. At the Teacher of the Year Gala event was last week, and our own Mackenzie Mulligan was there. The superintendent was there, Ricky Richardson, and Cecily Smith from Williston Elementary School was there as well. And basically they were announced. Senora Rosario was also there to support Mackenzie, and she wanted to point out that, and also recognize their dedication and unwavering support for all of our students. And Superintendent Boyle and a lot of our administrators and some of our district personnel are there at NEFAC's Summer Leadership Conference today. They were there yesterday as well, and she just wanted to recognize that she wasn't sure, based on the reduction of the federal funds, if that was even going to be possible, but did want to recognize that NEFAC offered some additional scholarships for some of our people to attend. Otherwise, many of our principals and school administrators would not have been able to attend the Summer Leadership Conference without the support of NEFAC. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. Mrs. Campbell, any comments?
Yes. First of all, I want to definitely applaud our district. The B grade is fantastic. I know we're 5 away from A, but I know what it takes to get to where we are. And I just want to applaud all the growth at every school, and to congratulate the district support team, the teachers, administrators, and students at all the schools, because I do know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into all of it. And I'm very proud of Levy County. I was so proud to hear about the graduation rate too, because I think that kind of sums it up. We're graduating kids who are ready to go out and conquer the world. I do want to welcome the new teachers that have come in, and I heard that the Elevate program was fantastic again this year, and I know that that's a great way to start our teachers out, and I offer my support to all of them as they come into Levy County. They're coming into a great system. And the AVID training, I heard, went very well, and I'm very proud of the teachers who took time out of their summer to attend that, because it's so important. Very happy to hear that our Core Connections is preserved through the title. Funds so needed, and looking forward to that. I'd like to be part of that too. And that the reading coaches are being preserved. And I hope that we'll make use of the reading coaches, since we are going to have to streamline our professional development. Our reading coaches are the best way of getting all of that necessary professional development to our teachers right there in their schools. So I hope that will happen. And thank you all for all of your hard work. The finances, I don't know how you do it. It's amazing to me. And I do thank you for making it somewhat easy to understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Whitehurst.
I echo a lot of the sentiments of Ms. Campbell as far as the grades and the graduation rate. Certainly a lot of hard work goes into that, and much appreciated. And like I said, all the presentations, going from, the good stuff to the not so good stuff. But luckily, as far as the finance side, we've kind of put ourselves in position through the years of being conservative, having a good fund ratio that we can weather some of these storms. But like Ms. Lake said, it's good to kind of make incremental changes versus when your back's against the wall and you have to really make tough decisions. So luckily the district's in a position to where we're not that, but certainly we need to start, making changes to where we can, trimming a little bit here or there, because you gotta save them pennies to make them dollars. So, certainly good. So I appreciate everybody, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byers. Ms. Mindy?
Same as what they both said. So proud of our district with the B grade, proud of being fifth in the state overall. That's just a huge accomplishment. Thank you to Miss Jerry and Kim, who is a Legler, who is from Williston, by the way. So you really, that's the Legler coming out of her.
We all have our little fantasies.
And summer's always a super busy time on the school campus. And I talked to Ricky this morning, or last night, and she said that the custodial crew at Yankeetown, which they're just fabulous anyway, they're way ahead of schedule in painting. She wanted me to give a big shout out to the maintenance crew. So she said you guys have been super helpful over the summer, and are there whenever she needs you guys. There is a community prayer, not Yankeetown sponsored, community sponsored, August 3rd, and an open house on August 9th for back to school. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. I won't continue to beat the same topics. Yes, that's a Williston Legler, but that's really a Bronson product. And I'm here to tell you, okay, I'm going to leave it at this. We are looking at some hard times.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad we have a Bronson person in charge of that, okay? And I say that because, you ever try to grow anything in the sand at Bronson? That's why we're tough and we can get it done. We ain't giving nothing, so I'm glad I got that on my side. All right, so we're going to be okay. If there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.